The flight took off from Newark, New Jersey, headed for Buffalo. It was a routine flight for the crew, but conditions were about to take a grim turn. Weather was poor, with icy conditions and reduced visibility. These factors complicated the flight, but they were not the only issues at play. As Flight 3407 approached Buffalo, the pilots faced a series of challenges. They noticed issues with the aircraft's performance. Unfortunately, these issues were not fully understood or effectively managed. The crew reported that they were experiencing a stall warning, a serious situation. Step by step, the situation worsened. The plane was flying too slowly. The pilots struggled to regain control as ice accumulated on the wings. As the stall warning intensified, time was running out fast. Tragically, the crew failed to recover. The plane lost altitude and crashed into a house. All 49 passengers and crew members on board died, along with one person on the ground. This accident caused immense pain and loss for many families. In the aftermath, the aviation world took notice. Investigators discovered multiple contributing factors. Pilot fatigue, inadequate training, and regulations were all scrutinized. These insights led to changes in airline policies and training procedures. For example, new regulations improved pilot training on stall recovery and fatigue management. Airlines also implemented stricter hiring practices. These changes aimed to prevent another tragedy like Flight 3407. In summary, Flight 3407 highlights the importance of safety in aviation. Investigators uncovered flaws that led to this tragic crash. Changes made since then helped protect countless lives across the skies. If you enjoyed learning about this critical aviation accident, please like and subscribe. Share this video to raise awareness about aviation safety. Together, we can honor the memory of Flight 3407's victims and support ongoing improvements in aviation. Thank you for watching. The crew's resolve was put to the test as they communicated with air traffic control, reporting their difficulties while attempting to stabilize the aircraft. The tension in the cockpit was palpable, heightened by the harrowing awareness of the storm raging outside and the burdensome weight of responsibility they bore for every life on board. As they battled the icy grip threatening to overwhelm them, the pilots exchanged hurried glances filled with urgency and concern. Each moment felt critical, and their training echoed in their minds as they quickly reviewed the protocols for recovering from a stall. The cockpit, once a place of routine, had become a battleground against the forces of nature and mechanical failure. The stall warning blared incessantly, a stark reminder of their precarious situation. With every passing second, the aircraft continued to descend, and the pilots could feel their hearts racing. "I'm giving it all I've got," one of the pilots shouted above the cacophony of alarms and wind noise, gripping the controls tightly. "Just hold on a little longer." The co-pilot responded, adrenaline surging through him, "We need to gain altitude now, or we won't make it." They instinctively leaned into their training, working together to apply the necessary adjustments. However, outside the cabin, the snow continued to blind them, and the weight of ice on the wings persisted, adding to their overwhelming challenge. This was not just about flying, it was about survival, and with each attempt to right the course, the outcome remained uncertain. Suddenly, the aircraft lurched, and the pilots fought hard against the controls as a violent shudder coursed through the plane. "We're losing it, keep your head in the game," the captain urged, his voice steady despite the chaos enveloping them. The co-pilot adjusted his grip, sweat forming on his brow, feeling the tension escalate as warnings blared. They scanned the instruments, searching for any signs of recovery, but the aircraft continued its disastrous descent. Outside, the world below faded into an indistinct blur of white, but the pilots refused to surrender to despair. "Now. We need to add power," echoed the captain's command, a desperate plea as they continued their fight against fate. Each decision was crucial, the stakes higher than ever, they were racing against time itself. "Push it all the way," the co-pilot shouted, desperation creeping into his voice as he responded to the captain's command. They felt the aircraft tremble violently, the controls seeming to slip from their grasp, yet they clung to the hope that their combined efforts could turn the tide. Just as the altitude warnings grew more ominous, a flicker of control returned, but it was fleeting, like a mirage in the vast, stormy night. In a decisive moment, as the plane continued its downward spiral, the cockpit fell silent, save for the grim sounds of alarms and nature's fury. With the crash imminent, the crew's voices echoed in their minds, a haunting reminder of their struggle against the inevitable. All they could hope for now was that their tragic fight would spur improvements in aviation safety to honor those lost on that fateful flight. The pilots, each aware of the weight of their responsibility, executed their maneuvers with growing anxiety. The stinging cold from the windows served as a reminder of their perilous situation, as the aircraft trembled beneath them. "If we can just maintain altitude a moment longer," the captain declared, his determination unwavering despite the chaos. "Push against it. We have the strength to pull through." The co-pilot focused intently on the gauges, every flicker signaling life or death. As they fought against their mounting fears, their hearts raced in unison with the relentless alarms. Outside, the blizzard raged on, painting a picture of helplessness, but the crew's resolve would not falter just yet. The aircraft continued its perilous descent, the freezing wind howling past, as the pilots struggled to regain coherence amid the cacophony of alarms. "Look at the vertical speed indicator," the co-pilot urged, his voice sharp with adrenaline. The captain's eyes darted to the gauge, which painted a grim reality: they were still losing altitude. "We need to make a decision, now," he shouted, acknowledging the weight of their predicament pressing heavily on their shoulders. They felt the aircraft's descent accelerate, and the impulse to tighten their grip on the controls became instinctive. "Thrust. More thrust," the captain commanded, knowing time was no longer a luxury. The co-pilot engaged the throttles, praying for a miracle as they wrestled with the machine, desperate to coax it back into the skies. Each second stretched into eternity, as instinct and training collided in a frantic dance against nature's fury. "Come on, baby, hold steady," the captain grunted, willing the aircraft to respond to their combined efforts. The pressure in the cockpit mounted as the reality of their situation crystallized, every second seemed to echo with the weight of impending disaster. "We have one shot at this," the captain breathed, his focus narrowed like a tunnel. "If we don't act decisively now, it might be too late." The co-pilot nodded, his jaw clenched in determination, knowing they had reached a fork in the road where any hesitation could spell doom. "All right, let's regain control, full flaps, and then we'll attempt a left turn to gain height." Their voices cut through the roar of wind and machinery, but it was the silent understanding of their bond forged in training that gave them strength. As they initiated their move, the aircraft responded with a tilt that filled them both with both dread and fleeting hope. "Come on. Just a little more," the co-pilot yelled, pushing every ounce of energy into his control. The aircraft groaned under the strain, its distress echoing back to them as ice continued to accumulate. With their fate hanging by a thread, the knowledge of what was at stake, the lives they carried, drove them onward through every agonizing second of turmoil. They could still hear family names in their minds, faces of those who depended upon arriving safely to their destinations. In the final moments, As the plane shuddered violently, the co-pilot felt a surge of adrenaline. Despite the odds, he refused to yield to despair. "We're not done yet," he shouted defiantly. "Let's do this." Each decision marked a turning point, and the course of their determination was set against the storm's fierce examination. As they continued their fight for control, they drew strength from each other, for the lesson of their struggle might save lives long after their own flight had reached its end. The aircraft's speed continued to drift dangerously low, and the cabin filled with tension as the pilots exchanged glances filled with equal measures of fear and resolve. "We can't let it end here," the captain muttered, and his voice betrayed a flicker of vulnerability. His co-pilot, breathing heavily, nodded in agreement, his mind racing through protocols they'd memorized during training. "Let's disengage the autopilot," he urged, conviction hardening his tone. "It's time to take back control manually." With the flicker of a switch, the autopilot disengaged, freeing them to execute the maneuvers needed for survival. The cockpit plunged into a deeper sense of urgency, their movements choreographed with a blend of instinct and memory. As the icy wind raged outside, the pilots steeled themselves, both physically and mentally, to fight for the lives entrusted to their care. "This is our chance," the captain affirmed, locking eyes with his co-pilot, who now understood, in every fiber of his being, the necessity of courage amid chaos. "Hold steady," he commanded, feeling the adrenaline surge. As the pilots fought to regain control, the aircraft began to shudder violently, a warning of the catastrophic reality they faced. "Maintain your focus," the captain urged, his voice commanding yet strained, as he recalibrated his instincts. "We can do this, push harder." The co-pilot, heart racing, thumbed through the emergency checklist, searching for any lifeline they could grasp amid the chaos surrounding them. Outside the cockpit, the storm howled like an angry beast, relentlessly challenging their resolve, but they remained united in their fight. "Keep pulling back, don't let it stall," he shouted, his voice rising above the blaring alarms, which now merged into a haunting symphony of desperation. With every ounce of strength, both pilots leaned forward, desperate to coax the aircraft back into a stable flight path. As the aircraft fought against the elements, time seemed to stretch endlessly, each second a reminder of their desperate situation. "Look! We're stabilizing!" the co-pilot exclaimed with a fleeting hint of optimism, his hands deftly working the controls as they reported their status back to air traffic control. The captain's heart raced, and he shouted, "Hold that course! Keep adjusting for the wind!" They could feel the aircraft responding slightly, but still, the tension in the cockpit was palpable, an ever-present reminder of the stakes at play. With sheer determination, they fought together, each action a testament to their training and experience. "This is not over," the captain reassured, his resolve hardening as he continued to wrestle with the aircraft. The blizzard outside obscured all visibility, but inside, they relied on each other, forging ahead with resolve and courage in the face of overwhelming odds. As the plane began to level out, hope flickered like a candle in the storm, igniting their spirits for the struggle ahead. They refused to give in, battling through the chaos, as they remained committed to the mission above all else. Their fight was far from over, and together, they would see it through. The captain's voice surged with unwavering resolve, "We're gaining some altitude." The co-pilot, filled with renewed vigor, replied, "Keep it steady, maintain this heading." The flight of Flight 3407 serves as a somber reminder of the fragility of life, encapsulating the vital need for unwavering dedication to safety in aviation. Let us honor the memories of those who lost their lives by striving for continuous improvement in airline practices, ensuring that such a